Hello, so let's get started with adding clients and prospects. For that, we'll go to the clients module. Here, as you know, you can manage your entire client database. You'll have it accessible at any point. But to add a client to Travel Contact, all you need to do is click on Add Client, and then you'll be able to add clients and prospects to Travel Contact. You'll see here that the first thing that you will need to do is identify which are the required fields. In this case, they are always marked with the red asterisks. For adding a client, it would be a first name, last name, and a method of contact. This method of contact can be an email address, it could be a phone number, or finally, it could be a main traveler. A main traveler is basically assigning this new client to an already existing client in your database. In Travel Contact, each client gets their own profile. It does not matter if they're a sub-traveler, they will ultimately get their own profile and their individual profile, which will allow you to manage their own preferences, likes, and information as a separate client. We don't work with sub profiles. We don't work with duplicate profiles. Every client will get their own individual profile. So that is a way you create a client. Remember the three required fields. So basically the first name, the last name, and the method of contact. When creating a prospect, the required fields will change, and then you'll only need to add a first name and a last name. So what are the differences between a prospect and a client? Basically is a method of contact, and meaning you won't be able to create any trips for a prospect. The moment you want to create a trip for a prospect, the platform will ask that you assign a method of contact for this prospect or client. So that is a way that we migrate between them. You can't have a prospect without a method of contact. However, when it comes to time to create a trip for them, the platform will require a method of contact. In that sense, you'll need to convert it to a client. So once you create a client, you'll see that we go ahead and create a client profile for you. I'm going to go ahead and, for the purpose of time, show you a client that was already created following the process that we just saw. But every time you create a client, you're going to land here, and this is where you'll be able to keep and enter and store as much information on your client as you might need. So for example, you'll see here that we have all categories are on the left, and then we'll have subcategories on top right here, which you can manage as well. Throughout the entire client profile, you'll see that for most of entering information and editing information and adding it, all you need to do is basically click on edit and then enter all the amount of information that we might like. Some fields are for you to select for drop-down menus, others are to select between two options, and others are for you to type in the actual information. Once everything is done and you've entered the information you want, you might need to click on save, and then all that information will be stored in your client profile. You'll see here that, for example, in general information, we have everything covering from name, nationality, first name, etc., down to contact method, emergency contact. You'll see right here if they are, if they have sub-travelers or they are a sub-traveler off. You'll be able to review phone numbers, important dates, email, and then seasonal addresses as well. And then you'll be able to keep professional information, social media, and medical information as well. As we move through passports and visas, you'll see that we can store the actual passport picture, and you can keep it at hand. You'll be able to check the expiration date for passports, for visas as well. And then you can add as many passports as your client has and keep them on file at any point. You'll also be able to generate and create networks between your clients, meaning if, for example, you have friends, coworkers, or family members who usually travel together or tend to travel together, this would be the place to add them. You can actually edit any existing network that you already have. You can add new networks at any point. All I need to do is search in my database. So for example, if I type Mike, it's going to bring all the mics that I have on my database. I select one that I have already, and then I go ahead and select the relationship. So let's say they're cousins, and then once I've selected both fields, I'm going to go ahead and save that, and it'll be added automatically to my client's network. Now, every time I create a trip for this client or for the other client, I can bring both of them as part of their networks right away. Managing preferences for clients, you'll see that we have right here all the preferences that you can add. We have over 250 travel-oriented preferences. They are divided between interests, so general preferences such as travel preferences, traveling with, time of the year, destinations, and all this information that you might want to keep on your client. And then we have them for specific types of services, so you will be able to manage specific hotel preferences for your clients from this section as well. Now regarding the credit cards, as I said before, we partnered with Oric. Oric is completely PCI compliant, and they'll be able to store all your clients' information for their credit cards, and you'll be able to access it from our platform. So to add a new card, you'll see that you'll click here, and then we have all this required fields. Remember, the red asterisk is going to show you exactly what is exactly needed for you to bring in order to be able to save that credit card. One of the cool things is that we can actually click on using the client's main address. It's going to be brought forth from the client profile. Then you enter the rest of the data, and then you can mark as a default card or not here. Once you're done, you can click on save, and they'll be added to our platform and be stored in Oric. You can edit the cards at any point by clicking on the pencil icon right here, and then you can enter the information and edit that. Or if you want to review the card information, all you need to do is click on view and then reveal information. You'll get a code in your email address, and then you'll be able to enter it and see it right here on the platform. As I said before, in the general information, you can manage the sub-traveler information of a client. So basically, if you go here, you'll be able to see if your client has any sub-travelers. You'll be able to unlink them, change the relationship if they're already existing, or you can add a sub-traveler at any point. If your client was indeed a sub-traveler of somebody else, you can edit it from right here as well. Simply look for the name of the person who's going to become the main traveler for your client in the database, and once you find it, simply click on add, and it will be saved to our platform. When we go to the agency information section, basically, I call this the back office of the client in the sense that you'll be able to manage everything. Right here, you'll be able to review the creation date of the client, who is the agent responsible for this. In case you have branches or sub-agencies, you can see that information right here as well. And then when we go to the source or the sharing information, you'll be able to see it right here. So if I wanted to share my client with another advisor in the platform, all I need to do is go right here to the sharing information, click on edit, and finally, I can manage who has access to this client. So for example, if I wanted to give access to somebody else, all I need to do is click on search for the person I want to add it. It's going to be added to my list. And once I click on done, this specific client will be shared with that advisor that I selected. This is how we manage an individual or one-by-one case share. If you want to share your entire client list with a specific advisor, all you need to do is go to the main page of the client module, go to the icon where it says share, click on it. It's going to ask me again to select somebody from the list. I simply type in the name of the person I want to look for. It's going to bring forth all my active advisors. So let's say I wanted to share this with Ignacio, so I go ahead and choose him, and then once I'm done, I can click save, and then my entire client list was shared with that advisor. If I wanted to edit or remove the access to somebody, all I need to do is click on the same icon and then go ahead and click on the trash can icon, and that way they won't have access anymore to my client list. So that is what we have for this, for this webinar regarding clients and their preferences and how to save that and create clients at any point. Aside from adding clients from this icon on the client file, you'll see that if I move along throughout the platform, it doesn't matter the module. I'll always have this plus sign right here. If I click on it, I'll always be able to add clients from anywhere in the platform. All I need to do is click on add new clients, and the same window will appear where I'll be able to enter the client information. Simply, filling out the required fields. I can create a client or a prospect as well at any point. So now let's go to the supplier module so we can see how to add a new supplier. In the supplier module, you'll see that we have kind of a same build as a client module in the sense that we have the complete list of your suppliers. You can search for suppliers, do a simple search by typing the name, or I can do an advanced search and actually search by chain or brand. The other thing here is I can filter this by label, I can filter this by country, and then I can filter this by type of service as well. To add a supplier, all I need to do is click on add supplier right here. Once a new window appears, I'll need to fill out the required field. So in this case, let's say I need to add a new restaurant for this. And now all I need to do is enter the supplier name. So in this case, let's say I wanted to add a restaurant. In this case, I type in the name of the restaurant. It's going to do a search for me in Google. Then I choose, from the results, the one I'm actually looking for. So let's say it's this one. And now it's going to bring forth all the information from Google. And then I click on Create Supplier. Once that supplier has been created, it's going to open the supplier profile for me. And now I can manage all the information from the supplier. I can edit it at any point if I want to add something else, if I want to remove some information that might be here. As long as it is not a required field, you can do that. And then from here, I can manage labels. So managing labels would be the way for you to structure your suppliers. So let's say I wanted to add, a label that says New York favorites. So once I add this label, I'm going to say create New York favorites, and then I'm going to say close. So now, I'm sorry, I had to click on the Add Plus, which is a step I missed. Once I do that, I click on Create, Add it, and now I'm able to actually add the label. You'll see it loads right here. So New York favorites would be my new label. So now I have all this information. I can actually go to the additional information section and add contacts, comments, and any other information that you might need to keep on that specific supplier. But now if I go to my labels right here, you'll see that I have New York favorites. If I would select it, it's going to show up only the New York favorite label that I have right here. So you'll see here that I have no supplier under American. But if I clear all the filters right now, then you'll see I clear all the filters. I go to New York favorites, and now I have Red Farm, which has my label and all the information. I can access it at any point. So this would be the way to manage the labels. For example, if I created, let me show you. Let's say I wanted to add a new supplier right now. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to use a new, instead of adding a supplier, I'm going to look for something on my database. So I'm going to go ahead and clear all filters. I'm going to go ahead and say, I just want to check the Waldorf Astoria and see if I have the New York Waldorf Astoria here. Let's see, we have Phoenix, New Orleans, McLean. So I can go ahead and look through the entire database and see if it's already added. So here it is, Waldorf Astoria, New York. I'm going to select that. I'm going to open the file, the profile, and I'm going to go ahead and add a label to this as well. So I'm going to say New York. Since I already created this label, it's going to show up right here. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to click Add and then Close. So now I have that tag added, and now you'll see that if I go back to my to my supplier list, I clear all filters right now, and then I go ahead and say, okay, I want to see New York favorites. So I can do this with as many tags as I want, as I'm in many labels, so I can tag my suppliers. In that way, you'll be able to manage your suppliers at any point, and keep them nice and organized so you can access them whenever you need to, in that sense. So that is what we have for our webinar today. Let's go to our Q&A section, and if you have any questions, now would be the moment to do them, and then I can start showing you around the platform and answering those questions as they come along. Thank you so much for that time.